Ruby says, I like your vids. Thanks, Ruby. All right, man. How are you guys doing this week? This week I had a power outage, which sucked. Man, I didn't realize how much I needed power. So yeah, so I woke up and the power was already out, right? And I was already late for a Zoom meeting I had with my friends just to catch up. And friggin' uh yeah, because I was up late the day before, so I was late for that, and then I didn't have internet because I didn't have power, so I couldn't join the Zoom meeting. So I had to figure out how to use my phone to make as a wireless access point. And then the connection kept dying. So there's a lot of stuff happened. And then I looked up online to see when the power was going to be back, and it said 3:30. So it was like 12 at the time. So I was like, oh, 3:30, it's fine. It's fine. I can just make lunch and then, read a book or something. And then 3:30 comes and they update it and it said, oh, sorry, we didn't mean 3:30. We meant 9 p.m. That's the whole day, okay? That's the whole day. I didn't know what to do. So I did like a shopping day. So I went to Costco, Target, and a supermarket. Then I came back and it was already late. It was already dark. So I lit up some candles, which is nice actually. Like, I don't know, candles. Maybe I should do that more often. But and then I read a book by candlelight, which sucks. I don't know how people did it back then because the candle keeps flickering. And then 9 o'clock comes, and I still have no power. I looked it up online, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we didn't mean 9 p.m. We meant 11:45." Okay, and by this point, my phone is dying already, so I had to turn it off. Yeah. Finally, I think at 10:30 it came back. So the whole day was wasted, guys. Wasted. I was supposed to edit and stuff, but wasted. Anyways, QP says Linfamy should make another channel for him playing games like Animal Crossing or something. I don't know. Animal Crossing. I don't play games. I don't play games anymore. I used to play like WoW a lot, but not now. I don't know. What's that game? That new game? Ghost of Tsushima? It looks really good. Maybe I should play that on stream. We'll see. Ruby says, can you talk about your vids you're going to make soon? I have a video coming next week about Pokemon. But that's all I'm going to say. Yeah. All right, guys, let's do this. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we are at chapter 8. Let's do a recap of last week. Luna, a lot of love for Ghost of Tsushima. Hey Amanda, welcome back. Sai just finished the game. How was it? Did you like it? Titus says, can we turn this into a drinking game? You can. I have a... hold on. Change the camera. I have this for today. Some tequila. That doesn't mean I finished that other one, the Jack, last week. I didn't finish it. I'm not an alcoholic. Just thought I would switch it up today. All right. You guys want to get started? Let's do a recap of what happened last week. In chapter 4, part 1. So what happened was, so remember, Yilin, the nun, was this young nun, was telling the story of how she escaped from that rapist, Tian Boguang, and what happened to Ling Huchong, right? Yeah, Ling Huchong was the eldest brother of the Huashan school. And so she was telling the story. So they're at they're at this wine shop and they're sitting. She's sitting with Tian Bo Guang and Ling Hu Chong. And then two people from the Taishan school came over and attacked them. Okay, they attacked Tian Bo Guang. And apparently, this rapist guy is super good, and he beats both of them. He kills the first guy, and he seriously wounds the second guy. But the second guy doesn't die. He runs away. That's how he was able to come over and tell us that story. So the thing is, that guy who survived thought that Ling Hu Chong was friends with the rapist. So that's why they're saying Ling Hu Chong is a bad dude. And then what happens is Ling Hu Chong makes a bet that they would he would fight with Tian Bo Guang, but the bet is that they would fight sitting down because he says he's really good at fighting sitting down. And if anyone gets up from the chair, if his seat leaves this, if his butt leaves the seat, then that person loses. And they fight. They start fighting, and then we find out that he made this bet because he wanted to save Yi Lin. Because now, since they're sitting, Tian Bo Guang can't run after Yi Lin, so Yi Lin can escape. So she escapes. She runs away, but she doesn't run away home. She runs out of the restaurant, and I think she gets up on the roof, and she watches the fight because she's telling the story, so we gotta know what happens, right? So they have to make her run up the roof and watch the fight, and the fight goes on, and Ling Hu Chong gets beaten, and he falls down on the ground, and Tian Bo Guang declares victory. He stands up and declares victory, and then Ling Hu Chong says, no, I actually won. You didn't win. I was the one who won. And I think that was the end of the chapter. And I think we read on for a little while because we wanted to know what happened. But let's just read on. Let's just start from chapter 4, part 2 today. All right, that's the recap. Any question? All right, Bigfoot. See you. The road is calling you, but have a good one. All right, let's do this. Chapter 4, Seat Fighting. We agreed that we fight while sitting down, Tian Bo Guang answered. And whoever stands up first, his butt leaving the chair is. He stuttered the word is 3 times, but could not finish his sentence. Oh wait, Yilin's talking, so. He could only point at Big Brother Ling Hu with his finger in disbelief. He had just realized that this was a trick, and he had been fooled. He had already stood up, but Big Brother Ling Hu had not stood up, and his rear end was still touching the chair, although his body was in a very embarrassing position, but according to the agreement, he had already won. Oh, thanks, Nikki, for reminding me. We gotta start with this. You guys gotta remind me of these things. My memory sucks. Oh, Bigfoot is still listening? Okay, good. Listen while you drive. Hey, Yuhin Tam, how's it going? I noticed you have a new profile pic. I can't see what it is, but all right. People in the hall started applauding and cheering. Only Yu Changhai gave a disgruntled snort and scoffed. A rascal playing unscrupulous tricks with the rapist Tian Bo Guang. What an embarrassment to all decent schools. What kind of crap is that? Ding Yi said angrily. A true man fights with his brain, not his muscles. I did not see anyone in your Qincheng sword school act so bravely. Hearing from Yilin about how Ling Hu Chong had saved the Hangshang sword school's reputation, with no regard to his own safety, he felt very thankful deep in her heart. She felt very thankful deep in her heart, and had already disregarded all negative thoughts about Ling Hu Chong. Yu Changhai snorted. What a wonderful crawling young hero. Your Qincheng sword school Ding Yi started yelling when Liu Chengfeng cut her short, afraid to see conflict between them again. So it looks like this Liu Chengfeng guy doesn't like conflict. He's the calm guy, trying to calm everyone down. Nephew apprentice, did Tian Boguang admit his defeat? Oh wait. Nephew apprentice, did Tian Boguang admit his defeat? He asked Yilin. Tian Boguang stood there staring blankly at the floor and could not make up his mind, Yilin went on. Little apprentice sister of the Hangshang Sword School, you can come down now, big brother Ling Hu shouted. Congratulations for getting a first-class apprentice. It turned out that he already knew I was sneaking about on the roof. Tian Boguang is a bad man, but he does keep his word. He could have just stepped up and killed big brother Ling Hu easily with a single blow and then turned around to catch me, but he simply shouted out, Little nun, listen up. If you ever dare see me again, I will finish you off with a single chop. I never wanted to have the villain as my apprentice in the first place, so his words were like music to my ears. Tian Boguang shoved his knife back into its sheath and then stormed out of the wine house. I then jumped down into the wine house, helped big brother Ling Hu up, and took out the heavenly connecting glue to put on his wounds. After counting the wounds, I found up to 13 different ones on his body. Sister Ding Yi, congratulations, Yu Changhai suddenly cut in. Congratulations for what? Ding Yi gave him a hard stare. Congratulations for getting such a reputable and master-level new grand apprentice. Ding Yi was enraged. She struck the table heavily and stood up. Remember, part of the bet was that whoever loses has to make her, Yilin, his master. So apparently now she is the master of Tian Boguang, the rapist. Katie likes my changing voices. Hey, I'm not a professional voice actor, guys. Try my best here. DSK. Hey DSK, how's it going? Welcome back. Ding Yi was enraged. She struck the table heavily and stood up. Master Yu, you're at fault. Master Yu, you're at fault this time. How can we Taoists make such silly jokes? Priest Tianmen cut in. Priest Tianmen is the master of the Taishan Sword School. Knowing that, first of all, he was in the wrong, and secondly, Priest Tianmen would be a tough opponent, Yu Changhai turned his head away and pretended not to hear anything. Yilin continued, I finished dressing Big Brother Ling Hu's wounds and then helped him up to sit on the chair. Big Brother Ling Hu was breathing very heavily. Would you please pour a bowl of wine for me? He requested. I poured the wine and handed him the bowl. Then footsteps came from the stairway and 2 men walked in. He was one of the 2. She pointed at the Qincheng apprentice who had carried Luo Ranjia's body a while ago. Then she said the other one was the villain, Luo Ranjia. They looked at me and then looked at Big Brother Ling Hu and then looked back at me with very impolite stares. The listeners all thought, when Luo Ranjia and his companions saw blood-covered Ling Hu Chong sitting together with a beautiful nun in the wine house, and the little nun was pouring wine for him, they would certainly feel very awkward. Then staring impolitely would not be an unusual reaction. Yilin went on telling the story. Big Brother Ling Hu glanced at Luo Ranjia and then asked, Apprentice sister, do you know what Kung Fu the Qincheng Sword School is best at? I don't know. I heard that the Qincheng Sword School has many good Kung Fu skills, I replied. Correct, Big Brother Ling Hu said. The Qincheng Sword School has many good Kung Fu skills, but the best one, I'd better not mention it to avoid conflict. Then he gave Luo Ranjia a stare back. Hearing his words, Luo Ranjia... That name is hard to say, guys. Luo Ranjia. Luo Ranjia. Hearing his words, Luo Ranjia rushed forward. Which one is the best one? Spit it out, he yelled. I didn't want to say it, Big Brother Ling Hu smirked. But you really want me to say it, right? It's a move called bum bum back geese landing in sand. Luo Ranjia struck the table with his palm and bellowed, "Nonsense! What is this bum-bum-back geese landing in sand? I've never heard of it. This is the very special skill of your respectful school. How can you not have heard about it?" Big Brother Ling Hu chuckled. "Turn around, I'll show you the move." Luo Ranjie started swearing at Big Brother Ling Hu and suddenly... Wait, damn it. Luo Ranjie started swearing at Big Brother Ling Hu and suddenly threw a punch at him. Big Brother Ling Hu tried to stand up and dodge it. But because he had lost too much blood and did not have much strength to move, he tumbled, then sat back down on the chair. The punch landed squarely on his nose. Blood immediately started running. Luo Ranjie punched him again, and I hurriedly blocked his fist away with my hand. Why is he hitting him? Come on. "Don't hit him," I demanded. "Can't you see he is badly wounded? Bullying a badly wounded man. What kind of a man are you?" Luo Ranjie scolded. "Ha! This little nun thinks this rascal is so handsome and has fallen for him. Get away. If you don't, I'll beat you up too. If you dare to hit me, I'll tell your master you," I threatened. "Ha ha, you didn't follow your nun rules and violated the moral prohibitions. Anyone can punish you," Luo said. "Master, wasn't he wronging innocent people?" He poked his left hand toward me. I tried to block it, but didn't notice it was a feint. Then his right hand suddenly stretched out and pinched my left cheek. He began to laugh loudly. I was very angry and fought back with 3 palm heel strikes, but he dodged them all. "Apprentice sister," Big Brother Ling Hu called me. "Don't fight him. Let me get my breathing going, then I'll be just fine." I turned to look at him. His face was so pale. Dun, dun, dun. Hey Orava, how's it going? You're not late, you're just in time. Hope Johnson, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Janeri, is that how you say it? Janeri, welcome to the stream. QP says ninjas are lame, Ninja Turtles are fame. Hey, Ninja Turtles are awesome. It's my childhood right there. Where am I? Luo Ranjie ran to him and punched at him again. Big Brother Ling Hu deflected Luo's punch with his left palm and redirected it, which turned Luo's own body around, and then he threw a kick and it landed right on his rear end. The kick was quick and accurate, swift and smooth. Luo Ranjie could not keep his balance and rolled all the way down the stairs. "Apprentice sister," Big Brother Ling Hu whispered to me. "This is their Ching Chung Sword School's best move called Bum Bum Back Geese Landing in Sand. Bum Bum Back is where they get ready to be kicked. Then geese landing in sand. Don't you think that was an accurate description?" I wanted to laugh, but I became really worried when I saw his face getting paler and paler. Take a rest, and don't talk," I said. Blood gushed out from his wounds again. Obviously, because he used too much strength when he threw the kick and the wounds were open again. Luo Ranjie rushed back immediately, after rolling down the staircase with a sword in his hand this time. "You are Huashan Ling Hu Chong, aren't you?" he yelled. Big Brother Ling Hu grinned. "You are already the 3rd master of your respectful school who used this bum-bum-back geese landing in sand on me. No wonder. He started to cough badly. Fearing that Luo Ranjie might harm him, I drew my sword and stood by his side, guarding him. Luo Ranjie turned to his fellow apprentice. "Junior Apprentice Li, you deal with this little nun," he commanded. The Li villain answered and unsheathed his sword to attack me. While defending myself with my sword, I saw Luo Ranjie thrusting his sword again and again at Big Brother Ling Hu, and Big Brother Ling Hu could hardly raise his sword to fend him off. He was really in great danger. After several rounds, Big Brother Ling Hu's sword fell down to the floor. Luo Ranjie thrust his sword out and placed the point of his sword at Big Brother Ling Hu's chest and smirked. "If you call me grandfather of Qincheng 3 times, I'll spare your life." Sure I will, Big Brother Ling Hu smiled. After I call you that, are you going to teach me your school's famous bum bum back geese landing? Before he could even finish his sentence, Luo Ranjie, the villain, pushed his sword forward and stabbed the sword into Big Brother Ling Hu's chest. The villain was so ruthless. Crystal teardrops began pouring down her face. She continued her story while sobbing. I saw what happened and rushed to stop him, but his sword had already penetrated Big Brother Ling Hu's chest. Everyone in the hall fell into silence. Yu Changhai felt that all the looks directed toward him were full of disdain and anger. Are you sure about your story? He asked. If, as you said, Luo Ranjie had already killed Ling Hu Chong, how did Luo Ranjie die from his sword? After Big Brother Ling Hu was stabbed, Yilin said, he squeezed out a smile and whispered to me, Little apprentice sister, I have an important secret to tell you. The Fortune Prestige Escort House's evil resisting sword art manuscript is at. His voice became lower and lower, and I could hardly hear him, only saw his lips moving. Yu Sanghai was shocked at the words Fortune Prestige Escort House's evil resisting sword art manuscript. He anxiously began to ask, at? He was going to say at where, but then he realized it would be very bad to ask the question in front of so many people. So he swallowed his words right away, yet his heart thumped harder and harder, hoping the young, inexperienced Yilin would say it out loud. Otherwise, when Sister Ding Yi asked for the details later and learned all the important connections, she would never let him know the secret. Luo Ranjie seemed to be very concerned about that sword art manuscript, Yilin said. He walked closer and bent over to listen to what Big Brother Ling Hu was saying about the location of the sword art manuscript. Suddenly, Big Brother Ling Hu raised the sword he dropped on the floor and pushed the sword into Luo Ranjie's lower abdomen. The villain fell on his back. His limbs twitched a couple of times, but he could no longer stand up. It turned out, Big Brother Ling Hu fooled him into getting closer so he could kill him for revenge. After having finished retelling the past events, she could no longer handle the stress. She swayed back and forth for a little, and then fainted. Oh, come on. Ning Yi extended her arm to support her while glaring at Yu Changhai angrily. Well, at least she finished the story. Yeah, bum bum back, geese landing in sand. I don't think it's as funny as he thought it was. Amanda, yeah, that's right, taking the enemy with him. I think Amy is trying to rap. I don't think it's going well. So she faints. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All the listeners stayed silent and tried to imagine the epic fight in the Huiyan wine house. Compared to masters like Priest Tianmen, Liu Changfeng, Mr. Wen, He Sanqi, and others, the skills of those like Ling Hu Chong or Luo Ranjie were nothing special, but the entire event was so astounding and brutal. It was very rare for something like this to occur in the martial world, especially when told by such a pure and pretty young nun. Obviously, there was no exaggeration. Mr. Li, you were there. Did you see the whole thing? Lu Changfeng asked the Qincheng apprentice named Li. The Li named apprentice did not answer, just looked at Yu Changhai. Seeing the expression on his face, all knew that the whole thing happened exactly as it was told. If Yilin had said a word that was not factual, he would have argued. Yu Changhai turned to stare at Lao Denois with a livid face. Nephew apprentice Lao, he asked coldly, what on earth did we, the Qincheng Sword School, do that have offended your respectful school so much that your senior apprentice brother would provoke trouble over and over with the apprentices of my Qincheng Sword School? I don't know, Lao Denois shook his head. It seems to be a personal conflict between senior brother Ling Hu and apprentice brother Luo of your respectful school. It has nothing to do with the relationship between the Qincheng Sword School and the Huashan Sword School. Yu Changhai sneered. It has nothing to do indeed. You really know how to clear things up. He hadn't even finished his words when suddenly, with a loud crack, the west window burst open and a man flew in. Most of the people in the hall were masters and reacted quickly by dodging to the side, ready to defend themselves. Before anyone had the chance to actually take a good look at the man who had flown in, there was a second loud crack, and another person flew in. The two men landed on the floor face down and just lay there still. Both were in long purple robes, the type of uniform worn by members of the Chincheng Sword School. On the seat of their pants, each had the very clear imprint of a muddy foot. A husky old voice spoke loudly outside of the window, tauntingly. Bum bum back! Geese landing in sand! Ha 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 ha! Without any hesitation, Yu Sanghai struck a palm stance toward the direction where the voice had originated and jumped out the window to give chase. Pushing the window frame slightly using his left hand to get a start, he jumped onto the roof. Standing, he looked in all directions, but all he could see was the dark night sky with a shower falling down like a hanging curtain. But all he could see was the dark night sky with a shower falling down like a hanging curtain. There was no sign of anyone. He quickly concluded that it was impossible for anyone to vanish in such a short time. Therefore, the intruder was hiding close by. Knowing that the man must be a formidable opponent to deal with, he drew his longsword and quickly searched all around the house of Liu. Alright, so I guess two people from the Chincheng school were attacked. I think they died. They were thrown through the window. And they might have died. Nikki wants geese fighting sound effects. I don't have that. I have slaps though. Oh. Oh, dead people. This is the sound effect for dead people. Lake Shepherd is pooping. Thanks, man. Thanks for telling us. Very informative. Priest Tiamen stayed in his seat, concerned about his dignity. But Sister Dingyu, Hu Sanchu, Mr. Wen, Liu Chengfeng, and Lao Dunhua all jumped onto the roof. They could see the short Taoist priest running about holding a sword. The flash of his sword took the appearance of a beam of white light and flew around the dozens of houses at a magnificent speed. All inwardly praised the high level of Yu Shanghai's Qinggong skills. Yu Shanghai dashed about rapidly. None of the corners, trees, or bushes escaped from his searching eyes, but he found nothing abnormal. He jumped back into the hall. The two apprentices were still lying on the floor. In his mind, the clear footprints on their backsides turned into hundreds of laughing faces of people in the martial world, mocking the Chincheng Sword School for losing face. Remember, losing face is a big deal in this world. Yu Shanghai turned one apprentice over and recognized him as Apprentice Shen Renjun. He didn't have to turn the other one over. The beard clearly showed that it was the one who always hung out with Shen Renjun, Zhi Rentong. Yu Shanghai struck the pressure points next to Shen Renjun's ribs twice, and then asked, "Who did this to you?" Okay, they're not dead. They're just frozen, just paralyzed. Shen Renjun opened his mouth, but nothing came out of his mouth. Yu Shanghai was startled. When he struck Shen Renjun, he pretended to be doing something very easy, since so many first-class masters were watching. However, he had actually used a type of Qincheng high-level inner energy. Despite this, Shen Renjun's pressure points remained sealed, which left him no other option. He had to gather all his inner energy and start passing it to Shen Renjun through the Lin Tai point on his back. So what they're saying is, okay, he tried to release that pressure points, but it's really powerful. So the guy who sealed it probably has a lot of qi, and he couldn't do it. So now he has to really gather up his strength and unseal that pressure point. Glowing Spring says, good morning from Japan. Hey, good morning. After quite a while, Shun Renjun was finally able to speak with a stuttering voice. Master! Yu Sanghai did not answer and kept passing more energy through the pressure points. I did not see who that was, Shun Renjun croaked. How were you tricked? Yu Sanghai asked. Fellow apprentice Ji and I went outside to take a leak. I just felt numbness on my back and then fell onto that son of a turtle's hands, Shun Renjun said. Yu Sanghai straightened his face. He is a first-class master. Show some respect. Yes, master, Shin Renjun stammered. Yu Sanghai simply could not figure out where the enemy could possibly have come from. He raised his head and saw the indifferent face of priest Tianmen. It seemed that he did not care about what had happened at all. Yu Sanghai thought to himself, the members of the Five Mountain Sword Alliance claimed to be same root, different branches. But since Ranjia killed Ling Hu Chong, it looks like even Tianmen is blaming me for that. Suddenly he realized that the hidden enemy was most likely still in the Great Hall. So he signaled Shun Renjun to follow him and then quickly walked into the Great Hall. People in the hall were still chatting and making wild conjectures as to who had killed the apprentice of the Taishan Sword School and the apprentice of the Qincheng Sword School. When they saw Yu Sanghai coming in, some recognized him as the master of Qincheng Sword School. For the ones who did not know him at all, even though all they saw was a short man, the way he walked and behaved clearly showed the dignity of a great master. So soon, they all stopped talking. Silence took over the entire hall. Yu Sanghai looked through the crowd closely, person by person. Most of the people in the hall belonged to the junior generation in the martial world. Although he did not know many of them by each one's apparel, he could determine which school they belonged to. He knew that no one from the junior generation of any school could be such a master with great inner energy. If this person were really in the hall, he must look somehow different from the others. He looked and looked, one after another, when suddenly his sharp gaze picked out a man. It's 6 o'clock. Let's do a 5-minute break. 5 minute. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Robert Delos Reyes. Shout out. Hello. Wait, that's not Robert. Jobert. Jobert? How do you say it? I'm going to say Jobert. That doesn't sound right. But hey, welcome. All right, Bigfoot. Have fun driving. So, okay. His sharp gaze picked out a man. This man had a very ugly face. The very muscles on his face seemed to have been twisted by some kind of evil magical force. Several pieces of plaster were spread across his face, and a big hump stood out from his back. He's a hunchback. Yu Sanghai could not contain his surprise when he suddenly thought of the man's identity. Could it be him? He asked himself. The hunchback of the north, Mu Gao Feng, always hung around the northern border and seldom showed up in the central region. He had no connection with the Five Mountains Sword Alliance. Why would he show up in Liu Zhengfeng's hand-washing ceremony? But if it were not he, Yu Sanghai could think of no other ugly hunchbacks in the martial world. There are not a lot of ugly hunchbacks. There's got to be like a few others, right? Having a hunchback is not that uncommon. The other people in the hall followed Yu Sanghai's gaze and saw the hunchback. Several older members of the crowd who knew much about the martial world let out cries of surprise. Liu Zhengfeng rushed toward the hunchback and greeted him. I didn't realize that your honor had come and did not serve you in good manner. Please pardon me. In actuality, the hunchback was nobody famous. He was none other than the young master of the Fortune Prestige Escort House, Lin Pingzhi. Whoa! Didn't expect that. Lin Pingzhi is in disguise as this, really powerful dude. Afraid of being recognized by the others, he had kept his head down the entire time and stayed in a corner of the Great Hall. Oh, if you don't remember Lin Pingzhi is the guy who was in the beginning, uh, and his parents were captured. Right? Remember, he came here to try to find his parents and rescue them. If Yu Canghai had not searched very carefully, nobody would have ever noticed him. But now that everybody's eyes were fixed on him, Lin Pingzhi felt very embarrassed. He stood up immediately, bowed back to Liu Qiangfeng, and said, "Not really, not really." Liu Qiangfeng knew that Mu Gaofeng was from the northern border region, but the man in front of him had a southern accent. He also seemed to be far younger. Despite his doubts, he knew that Mu Gaofeng always liked to was always liked to come and go like a shadow. It wouldn't be appropriate to judge his behavior using common standards. So he said very politely, "I am Liu Zhengfeng. May I have the honor to ask your respectful name?" Lin Pingzhi never thought that someone would ask him about his name. He mumbled a couple of words but did not answer. "You and Hero Mu?" Liu Zhengfeng asked again. An idea suddenly came to Lin Pingzhi's mind. My last name is Lin. If I use only half of it, it's the character of Mu." So he said quickly, "Mu is my family name." Oh, that's a coincidence. He just happens to have that name. The same name as the guy, the really powerful master. "Mr. Mu's coming to Hangsheng has brought great honor to our Liu house. May I ask what is the relationship between you and Hunchback of the North, Hero Mu?" Liu Jiangfeng inquired. He could tell that Lin Pingzhi was just a young lad, and those pieces of plaster on his face were used to just to hide his true identity. He was definitely not the man who had been renowned for decades, Hunchback of the North, Mu Gaofeng. Lin Pingzhi had never heard of the name Hunchback of the North, Mu Gaofeng, before, but by the tone and voice of Liu Qiangfeng, he could tell the man named Mu had quite a reputation. Although Yu Canghai was still glaring at him with a fierce look on his face, if he revealed his true identity, Yu Canghai would probably kill him without batting an eyelash. In such a precarious situation, the only right thing to do was to make some innocuous statements and fob them off? What is that? Put them on a boat and make them go to America? Fob them off with some vague answers. So he said, "Hunchback of the North, Hero Mu? He is a senior of mine." He thought if that man was called a hero, then of course the name senior would be appropriate. Without finding anyone else suspicious, Yu Sanghai had presumed this was the one who had humiliated his apprentices, Shen Renjun and Zhi Rentong. Even if the Hunchback of the North, Mu Gaofeng, had come himself, he would only be cautious but not afraid. Now this one was only a child of Mu Gaofeng's family. Yu Sanghai really did not take him seriously. It was this man who had first provoked the Qincheng Sword School. There was no way that he was going to let that go easily. Pop Usi, how's it going? Nikki, that's right, Lin is back. Not me. Oh, Hope. Pho is the best. Banh mi is good, but pho is the best. I have so many pho places around here. Like, it's heaven. It's pho heaven. It's fucking heaven. Qincheng School has never crossed paths with Mr. Mu of the North. I wonder how we have offended you, he said coldly. Standing face to face in front of the short priest, Lin Pingzhi remembered how his home was broken up, how his family was ruined, and his parents were taken prisoners. He didn't even know if they were still alive, and all this happened because of this short priest standing right in front of him. Although he knew the short priest's kung fu skills were 100 times better than that of his own, he almost couldn't help drawing his weapons and lunging forward. But after all the days of hardship following his escape, he was no longer the same dandy of Fuzhou town. He took a deep breath and tried to control himself. Xincheng's sword school has committed unrighteous deeds, and Hero Mu happened to catch them. So, of course, he interferes. He is very warm hearted and always enjoys helping the good against the evil. Why would he care if you offended him personally or not? He replied. Hearing these words, Liu Changfeng couldn't help laughing inwardly. Although Hunchback of the North, Mu Gaofeng, had high kung fu skills, his moral standing was not particularly good at all. He only used the words Hero Mu in a very casual way. Compared to Mu Gaofeng's true character, the word hero was far from the true description. This man curried favor with the powerful and never kept his promises. But he had excellent kung fu skills and was always alert and careful, so if one ever offended him, it would be impossible to guard against him. That was why people in the martial world might be afraid of him, but no one really had any respect for him. When Liu Changfeng heard Lin Pingzhi's words, he truly believed that Lin was a member of Mu's family and was afraid that Yu Changhai might hurt him. Master Yu, Brother Mu, he said with a smile, both of you are respectful guests in my humble place. Please, for that sake, let's drink a friendly shot of wine. Servants, wine. Soon servants brought out wine. Yu Changhai thought nothing of the young hunchback before him, but considering all the dirty and evil tricks of Mu Gaofeng he had heard before, he would rather not challenge him right away. After the wine was poured, he did not pick up the cup straight away. Instead, just waited to see what Lin Pingzhi would do. Lin Pingzhi wavered between anger and fear, but finally anger overwhelmed him. He thought to himself, probably mom and dad have already died under the short priest's murderous hands. I'd rather die than drink with him. He glared at Yu Changhai with hatred-filled eyes and did not pick up his wine cup either. He wanted to spit out some curses, but being afraid of Yu Changhai, he remained silent. But seeing all the hostility shown by this hunchback, Yu Changhai could not hold his temper any longer. He suddenly grabbed Lin Pingzhi by his wrist. All right. Out of respect for Master Liu, no one will cause any trouble in the Liu house. Brother Mu, let us get to know each other, he said. Lin Pingzhi pulled his arm hard, but could not escape Yu Changhai's grip. Right after Yu spilled out his last word, a great pain shot through his wrist. He could hear his bone cracking, and it seemed as though his wrist was going to be completely crushed. Yu Changhai halted the pressure and waited for Lin Pingzhi to beg for mercy, but Lin Pingzhi hated him so much that he did not even let out a groan in spite of the wrenching pain from his wrist. Standing by the side, Liu Changfeng could see big drops of sweat trickling down Lin Pingzhi's forehead, but his face remained defiant and did not show any sign of capitulation. He admired the toughness of this young man, so he called out, Master Yu, and was just about to separate the two when suddenly a high-pitched voice said, Master Yu, why are you so eager to bully Mu Gaofeng's grandson? Everyone turned around to look and saw a fat hunchback standing at the hall's entrance. He had white scars crisscrossing his face, with black spots in between, and an enormous hump on his back. He looked horribly ugly and strange. Most of the people in the hall had never seen the real face of Mu Gaofeng. Now, hearing this man claim to be Mu Gaofeng and seeing his bizarre appearance, all were astonished. The hunchback had a fat body, but that did not prevent him from moving at amazing speed. People only saw a blurry shadow, and the hunchback was already standing next to Lin Pingzhi. He patted on Lin Pingzhi's shoulder. Good lad, bragging for your grandpa by saying things like helping the good guys against the evil, and so on sounded wonderful. I really enjoyed it. After the words, he patted on Lin Pingzhi's shoulder again. What the hell? So the guy was there. That hunchback master dude, Mu Gaofeng, was there for some reason. This is all very coincidental. When he patted on Lin's shoulder the first time, Lin Pingzhi felt a big shock going through his body. Yu Changhai also felt a stream of heat in his arm, and he also had to let go of Lin Pingzhi's hand. But he immediately added more strength to his grip and held the wrist solidly. Since the first pat did not get Lin Pingzhi out of Yu Kanghai's hold, Mu Gaofeng gathered his energy while talking to Lin, and then he patted on Lin's shoulder the second time. He used more than 80% of his strength. Lin Pingzhi felt that, for just a second, he had lost his vision and something sweet welled up in his throat. Then blood filled his mouth. He tried his best not to spill any blood and swallowed it all back down. So what's happening is that they're both holding on to Lin Pingzhi and they're using their chi to fight each other through his body, which is probably not good on his body. Yu Sanghai felt burning heat under his palm. He could not hold Lin's wrist any longer and had to let go of it, taking a step back. This hunchback really lives up to his reputation of cruel and evil, he thought to himself. Just to break my hold, he would inflict internal damages to his own grandson. Lin Pingzhi gathered his strength and managed to squeeze out a laugh. Master Yu, he said to Yu Kanghai, your Qincheng school skills are truly feeble. Compared to this hunchback of the north, Hero Mu, you are a laggard. I suggest you submit yourself under Hero Mu and ask him to teach you a few moves. Then you might improve a little. Due to the internal injuries, he had to try hard to get these words out, feeling as though all his internal organs had been turned upside down. He finally finished his sentence, but his body had started shaking so badly that he almost fell. Hey DSK, welcome back. Yes, Yu Sanghai exclaimed. Your suggestion has merit. Since you yourself are studying under Mr. Mu, your kung fu skills must be quite remarkable. I would like to see them. By saying these particular words, Yu Sanghai was basically telling everyone that his challenge was strictly for Lin Pingzhi and that Mu Gaofeng should not interfere. Mu Gaofeng took a few paces back and grinned. My cute little grandson, I am afraid your skills are still too low and will be no match for the master of the Qincheng Sword School. He can slay you with his first move. As your grandpa, I am overjoyed to have such a hunchbacked and also handsome grandson. I'd really hate to lose such a kid. Why don't you kneel down and kowtow to your grandpa? Then your grandpa will take him on for you. How does that sound? Lin Pingzhi looked at Yu Sanghai and thought, if I get into a fight with you recklessly, he will probably kill me with the first blow in his fury. If I can't even protect myself, how can I avenge my parents? But I, Lin Pingzhi, am a grown man. How can I call this hunchback grandpa? It's all right if I myself am humiliated, but doing this will be a dreadful humiliation for my father as well. He would never be able to walk in the martial world with his head up. Now, how could he survive the martial world? If I kneel down in front of him, then I would be living under the fame of the hunchback of the north and never be myself again. His body trembling, he could not decide. He just held onto the table with his left hand. Amanda says, I love how the hunchback is playing along. I know, right? This is all very coincidental. I know you have no guts. If you want somebody else to fight for you, what's so big of a deal to kowtow a couple of times? Yu Sanghai mocked. You could tell that Lin Pingzhi and Mu Gaofeng's relationship wasn't anything usual. It was obvious that Mu Gaofeng wasn't his real grandfather. Otherwise, why did Lin Pingzhi only call him as senior but never grandpa? Mu Gaofeng wouldn't be asking his own grandson to kowtow at such a moment either. He wanted to provoke Lin Pingzhi into fighting himself, thus making things much easier to handle. Memories flashed through Lin Pingzhi's mind, including how the Fortune Prestige escort house was bullied and humiliated again and again by the Qincheng Sword School. He thought to himself, a true man will not let a small setback ruin his master plan. As long as I will eventually feel pride and elation, why couldn't I suffer some humiliation now? So he turned around, knelt down in front of Mu Gaofeng, and started to kowtow. Grandpa, he said, Yu Sanghai uninhibitedly kills innocent people and robs them of their belongings. Everyone in the martial world has the right to kill him. Would you please uphold justice and rid this evil for all the people in the martial world? Lin's action was a big surprise for both Mu Gaofeng and Yu Sanghai. The young hunchback acted with resolution and integrity when Yu Sanghai grabbed his wrist and crushed it with his inner energy, but he was now actually willing to kowtow and beg for protection, especially in public with so many people around. Most people thought that this young hunchback was really the grandson of Mu Gaofeng, and even if he wasn't a real blood relative, he must be a grand apprentice or something along those lines. Mu Gaofeng himself knew for certain that this man had no relationship with him whatsoever. Although Yu Sanghai had inkling that there was something suspicious going on, he still could not determine the actual relationship between the two. All he knew was that the grandpa was said in a very reluctant manner, maybe because Lin was just afraid to die. Mu Gaofeng burst into loud laughter. Good boy, nice lad. Why, you really want to play the game? He praised Lin Pingzhi while staring at Yu Sanghai, so the words good boy and nice lad almost seemed to be directed at Yu Sanghai. Yu Sanghai was enraged, but he calmed and readied himself, knowing that the fight today would not only be important to his own destiny, but also to the destiny and fame of the entire Qincheng Sword School. He let out a smile. If Mr. Yu wants to present his outstanding skill in front of all of our friends here, I'll just have to play along. Earlier, when Mu Gaofeng patted on Lin Pingzhi's shoulder, Yu Sanghai had already learned that Mu had resourceful inner energy, and his inner energy was the explosive type. Once he started the attack, it would be as overwhelming as thunder and lightning, or like landslides and tidal waves. It is well known that this hunchback is very conceited, he thought to himself. If he can't defeat me in a short time, he will become reckless and rush his attack. I'd better use all defensive moves for the first 100 rounds. That will keep me undefeated. After 100 moves, I will surely be able to find his weaknesses. So, Amy, you haven't had pho before? Dude, like you really need to try it. Go to a legitimate place. Go to a real like pho place. The authentic places are the places that are like, don't go to the fancy pho places. Go to the rundown hole in the wall places. Those are the authentic places. Okay. Yeah, you may have trouble later on in the restroom or in the bathroom later on, but as you're eating it, it's really good. Elizabeth Calvert says, "Oh my God, pho is life changing." See, told you. Mu Gaofeng thought to himself, "This little actually." Let's do another like 3-minute break, guys. All right, I'll be back. That was Chinese bluegrass. No, that was a bluegrass band mixed with a Chinese band, I believe. Someone sent that to me because we were talking about Chinese country before. So there you go. It actually exists. I don't think that's authentic though. It's a modern fusion kind of thing. Toot, toot, toot. Lavender, hey Lavender, welcome. Bigfoot says pho is delicious. Yes. Everyone say pho is delicious. Hi, Rice Boy. How's it going? All right. I think they're ready to fight. They're ready to fight. Mu Gaofeng thought to himself, this little priest really is something. Every generation of Qinchang Sword School had famous people. This bull-nosed priest, being the master of the sword school, certainly won't be someone easy to deal with. I hope I won't lose this battle and let all my fame swirl down the pipe. Being a very careful person, he did not recklessly attack right away. Right at the moment when the two were about to fight, two men flew out from the back and with two loud thumps landed on the floor and lay still. Both men wore purple robes and each had a muddy footprint right on the bottom. The clear and melodious voice of a young girl shouted, "This is the Qinchang Sword School's best move, called Bum Bum Back Geese Landing in Sand." What the? Oh. So it's not that guy. It's not Mu Gaofeng. Yu Canghai was outraged. Turning around without wasting any time, he dashed toward the sound without even looking. Seeing a young girl in a green shirt standing nearby, he instantly grabbed her by the arm. "Mom!" the girl screamed loudly and then burst into tears. Yu Canghai was startled. After hearing the embarrassing words, he acted in great anger without thinking. He had thought that she must have been involved with what had happened to the two Qinchang apprentices, so he grabbed at her arm at full strength. When he heard the girl's scream, he realized he had made a terrible mistake. This was just the little girl. How could he have used such power against her? In front of so many people, such behavior really did not fit with his image as the master of the Qinchang Sword School. He quickly let go of her arm, yet the girl cried louder and louder. "You broke my arm! Mom, my arm is broken! Wah, it hurts! It hurts!" the girl cried. Master Yu of the Qinchang Sword School had fought many fights and overcome many difficulties, but this was the first time he had been placed in such an embarrassing situation, being stared at by hundreds of accusing eyes. He felt his face burn with shame, and he did not even know where to put his arms and feet. Don't cry, he whispered to the girl. "Your arm is not broken, it won't break." "It's broken already, you beat me up. A grown-up beats up a kid, shame on you. Wah, it hurts, wah," she cried. Ha! The young girl was about 13 or 14 years of age. She had a green blouse on with skin as white as milk and a pretty little face. She looked adorable. The crowd in the hall all felt sympathy for her. A couple of rougher members had already started shouting out, "Beat the bull nose up! Kill the short priest!" Yu Canghai was very embarrassed. He knew he had incurred the public wrath, so he dared not to say anything, and just said to the girl, "Little sister, don't cry. I'm sorry. Let me look at your arm. See if it hurts." He wanted to roll her sleeves up, but the girl screamed, No, don't touch me. Mom, the short priest broke my arm." While Yu Canghai was completely lost, a man in a purple robe walked out from the crowd. It was none other than Feng Rengzhi, the smartest apprentice of the Qinchang Sword School. Hey, little girl, you're just pretending now," he said to the little girl. "My master's hand did not even touch your sleeve, so how could he have broken your arm?" "Mom, another one is coming to hurt me," the girl shouted. Having been watching angrily by one side, Sister Dingyi stepped forward and tried to slap Feng Rengzhi's face. "Big bullying the small, shame on you," she yelled. Feng Rengzhi tried to block with his arm. Dingyi extended her right arm quickly and grabbed his hand and then pushed down on his elbow with her left arm. If she gave a solid push, Feng Rengzhi's arm would be broken instantly. Yu Canghai poked his finger at Dingyi's back. Dingyi had to let go of Feng Rengzhi and strike back with her hand. Yu Canghai didn't want to fight with her, so he jumped back 2 steps and said, "Excuse me." Dingyi held the little girl's hand and asked gently, "Good child, where does it hurt? Let me have a look. I will heal it for you." She felt the girl's arm but did not find any broken bones. That helped her relax a little. She rolled the girl's sleeves up. On the lovely white arm, 4 clear black finger marks could be easily seen. Dingyi's anger exploded. "You liar!" she shouted at Feng Rengzhi. "If your master did not touch her arm at all, then who left the 4 black marks?" It was the turtle! It was the turtle! The girl said, pointing at Yu Sanghai's back as she spoke. Suddenly, everybody burst into loud laughter. Some even spit out the tea from their mouths. Some laughed until they doubled over. Laughter filled the entire hall. Yu Sanghai had no idea why everybody was laughing so hard. He thought that the little girl had called him a turtle just like any kid would have after they got upset. But what was so funny about that? But seeing everyone laughing at him, he still felt quite embarrassed. Feng Rengzhi jumped forward and peeled a piece of paper off Yu Sanghai's robe, and then crumpled the paper into a ball. Yu Sanghai took the paper ball and opened it, and saw a picture of a big turtle on the sheet. Oh, they did the old paper on the back trick. Huh? That's so funny. Maybe because this was written in the 1960s, that wasn't a common thing back then. I don't know. That was new back then. You said turtle. I don't know. She didn't say son of a turtle. I don't think we should add that to the insult list. I think that's the same. Yeah, that doesn't count. That doesn't count as a new insult, guys. Embarrassed and anguished, Yu Sanghai suddenly realized that it must have been a trick. The picture of the turtle was drawn ahead of time, of course. It must have been the girl who cried and screamed to divert his attention, and then stuck the paper onto his back. It would be impossible for anybody else to play such a trick behind his back. If that was the case, then there must have been adults behind the scene. He turned around and glanced at Liu Chengfeng, thinking, this girl must be a member of the Liu household, so it was Liu Chengfeng who played all these tricks on me. Liu Chengfeng saw the glance from Yu Sanghai and immediately understood that Yu had placed the blame on him. He took a step forward. Little sister, where are you from? Where are your mom and dad? He asked the little girl. By asking these words, first he wanted to assure Yu Sanghai that he had no clue as to what was going on, and also he became suspicious himself and wanted to know who had brought this little girl here. My mom and dad went away for something else, the little girl muttered. They told me to sit here and not to go anywhere. They said that later there would be a good show. 2 guys would fly out and then lie still. They said this is the Qinchang Sword School's best move, called Bum Bum Back Geese Landing in Sand. It was a good show indeed. She clapped her hands. The crystal teardrops on her cheeks had not yet dried out, but she was already smiling quite happily. No one could help but laugh at these words. These words were undoubtedly said to humiliate the Qinchang Sword School. The 2 Qinchang apprentices were still lying on the ground with their bottoms up, and each had a clear footprint on it. Qinchang Sword School had really lost all face. Yu Sanghai struck one apprentice's back, only to find that both apprentices had their pressure points sealed in exactly the same manner as Shen Renjun and Ji Rentong earlier. To unseal their points would require quite some inner energy and quite some time. Now, not only was Mu Gaofeng staring at him fiercely, but another tough opponent was hiding close by. The smart thing to do would be not to waste any of his inner energy on unsealing the apprentice's pressure points. Carry them out, he whispered to Feng Rengzhi. Feng Rengzhi waved at several Qincheng apprentices who rushed out and carried the 2 out of the hall. Out of the blue, the little girl said loudly, Qinchang Sword School really has a lot of people. 1 geese landing in sand takes 2 to carry. 2 geese landing in sand takes 4 to carry. Yu Sanghai's face turned livid with rage. What's your dad's name? He asked the little girl with a long face. Did he teach you these words? He figured that since those words were really sarcastic, if it wasn't her parents who had taught her, she would never have said them at such a young, tender age. Then he thought the name Bum Bum Back Geese Landing in Sand was made up by Ling Hu Chong. Could it be that Huashang Sword School blames Ranjie for killing Ling Hu Chong and now wants to get even with the Qincheng Sword School? The one who had sealed the pressure points had very high skills. That could be that the headmaster of the Huashang Sword School, Yue Buchun, playing tricks behind the scene. When he arrived at the thought that Yue Buchun had plotted against him, He couldn't help thinking that man's kung fu skills are outstanding. And since the 5 sword schools had united under the 5 mountains sword alliance, if they all started to attack, then the Chincheng sword school would suffer a crushing defeat. When he thought those thoughts, his face whitened with worry. The little girl ignored Yu Changhai's question, smiling merrily. She started reciting, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 2 is 10. I am asking you a question, Yu Changhai yelled in a stern voice. Her mouth twitching, the little girl started crying again while hiding her face in Sister Dingyi's arms. Dingyi patted her on the back gently and comforted her. Don't be scared, don't be afraid, good child, don't be scared. She turned to Yu Changhai. Why are you scaring a little kid like that? Yu Changhai let out a disgruntled snort. So the 5 mountains sword alliance is against my Chincheng sword school now. I'd better be very careful, he thought to himself. The little girl stuck her head out from Dingyu's arms and grinned. Granny, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 of the Chincheng sword school, Bum Bum Back Geese Landing in Sand, would take 4 to carry. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 Bum Bum Back Geese Landing in Sand would take 6 to carry. 4 times 2 is 8. She did not continue, but started giggling. Such behavior in suddenly going from crying to all of a sudden smiling was more appropriate for a 7 or 8-year-old child. Judging by her height, the girl looked to be 13 or 14. Every word from her was designed to humiliate Yu Changhai somehow. People all thought those were definitely not the words from an innocent and sincere child. There was no doubt that someone must have been behind it all. A true man acts openly and above board. Whichever friend wants to be hard on me, better show yourself. What kind of a hero are you if you only hide, sneak around, and direct a little child to utter such nonsense? Yu Changhai bellowed loudly. Although he was short, the words were spoken using energy all the way down from his abdomen and echoed in everyone's ears. People were shocked by the great energy Yu had put on display and stopped belittling him. The entire hall quieted down, and nobody answered. After a while, the little girl suddenly spoke again. Granny, he asked what kind of hero that was. Are the people of the Chincheng Sword School heroes? Dingyi was a senior sister of the Hangshan Sword School. Although she was displeased with the Chincheng Sword School, she wouldn't just defame the entire school in public. So she answered vaguely, The Chincheng Sword School had many heroes in the last generation. Then how about now? Are there anyone left? The girl asked again. Dingyi pouted her lips at Yu Changhai. Why don't you ask the master priest of the Chincheng Sword School? She said. Master priest of the Chincheng Sword School, the girl said. If someone was badly wounded and could not even move, then someone else came to bully him. Is the second person who took advantage of others' precarious position a hero? Yu Changhai was shocked. She is indeed from the Huashan Sword School, he thought aloud. People who had listened to Yi Lin illustrating the story about Lu Ranjie's killing of Ling Hucheng all felt a shock too. Could this little girl be somebody related to the Huashan Sword School? Lao Denois thought, these words from the little girl are really all for defending the big senior brother against injustice. Who is she? Afraid to upset the little apprentice sister, he hadn't been in a hurry to inform his fellow apprentices about the death of the big senior brother. Yilin's entire body started to tremble. She felt grateful toward the little girl. She had always wanted to ask Yu Changhai the same question, but being a gentle and kind girl that always respected the elders and seniors, she simply could not confront Yu Changhai, a senior. Now that the little girl had spoken them out for her, teardrops started to run down her cheeks. Who taught you to ask this? Yu Changhai asked, lowering his voice. The young girl ignored his question once again. There was a guy named Luo Ranjie. He was your apprentice, wasn't he? When he saw someone badly wounded, and the badly wounded man was a very good person, not only didn't he help him, he stabbed him with his sword. Was that Luo Ranjie a true hero? Was that the kind of Chincheng Sword School's chivalrous virtue you taught him? These words were only coming out of the mouth of a little girl, but she stated them so clearly and logically, it was really overwhelming. Yu Changhai did not know how to answer, so he asked sternly. Who on earth is telling you to ask these questions of me? Is your father from the Huashan Sword School? The little girl turned around to ask Ding Yi, Granny, is his scaring a little girl the kind of deed from a proper hero or a true man? Wait. Granny, is his scaring a little girl the kind of deed from a proper hero or a true man? Ding Yi sighed. That I don't know. People in the hall became more and more surprised. Those words the little girl said before probably were taught by grown-ups, but the two questions she just asked were really her own response, elicited from the manner of Yu Sanghai's questioning. They showed clear criticism and were right to the point. How could one have expected her to be so tough at such a young age? Getting weird. Looking at the little girl through her blurring eyes, Yulin saw her slim back. Suddenly she realized, I have seen this little sister before. Where have I seen her? She thought for a while and then remembered. Yes, she was also at the Huayan wine house yesterday. All the scenes from yesterday came out from her memory and became clearer and clearer. Yesterday morning, when she was forced into Huayan wine house, there were many people sitting around 7 or 8 tables. Then the two from the Taishan sword school challenged Tian Boguang, and Tian Boguang killed one of them. By then, most of the customers had been scared away, and the waiter dared not serve anyone anymore. But in the corner close to the street, a big, tall monk sat by a small table. There were also 2 more people sitting at another small table, until Ling Hucheng was killed and she carried his body downstairs from the wine house. The monk and the other 2 never left. At that time, she was scared to death. With thoughts of things going through her mind, she simply did not care much about the giant monk and the other 2. So now, seeing the back view of the little girl and comparing it with the scene in her memory, she could clearly remember that the little girl was one of the 2 sitting by the small table in the wine house. She had her back to her at that time, so she only remembered her view from the rear. And yesterday she was wearing a yellow blouse, not the green blouse she had on today. If the little girl had not turned around, she would never have remembered her. But who was the other one? She could only remember that it was a man for sure. But was he old or young? And what kind of clothes was he dressed in? She could not remember anything. Although, also, she remembered seeing the monk picking up his bowl to drink his wine, and when Tian Boguang was tricked into admitting his failure, the monk laughed loudly. The little girl was laughing too. Her clear laughter seemed to be ringing in her ears again. Sure it was her. Who was that giant monk? Why was a monk drinking wine? Yulin was immersed in memories of the previous days' scenes. It seemed as though Ling Hucheng's smiling face had appeared in front of her eyes again. How he had tricked Luo Renjie into coming closer before his death. How he thrust his sword into the enemy's belly. How she carried Ling Hucheng's body, staggering down the stairs, empty-minded, not knowing where she had been. How she absent-mindedly went out of the town gate and just walked about aimlessly without a clear destination. She could feel the body in her arms getting colder and colder. She didn't feel his weight. She didn't feel sad either, nor knew where she was going. Then she came by a lotus pond where the lotus flowers were so bright and so beautiful. Her chest seemed to be struck by a big hammer, and she could not hold out any longer. She fell down together with Ling Hucheng's body and then passed out. When she slowly regained consciousness, she felt bright sunshine blinding in her eyes. She tried to hold the body, but missed. Jumping up in surprise, she found herself still by the lotus pond, with the beautiful lotus flowers just as before, but there was no sign of Ling Hucheng's body. She was so panic-stricken that she rushed around the lotus pond several times, but still couldn't find any sign of where the body had gone. Seeing the bloodstains on her clothes, she knew it couldn't have been a bad dream. She almost passed out again. She forced herself to calm down a little and then searched around one more time, but still, the body seemed to have flown away on wings without a trace. The water in the lotus pond was quite shallow. She waded in the water and searched around, still not a single trace. Then she went back to the Hengshang town, asked for the location of the Liu house, and found her master. But all the time she had been pondering, where did Big Brother Ling Hu's body go? Maybe someone passing by took it? Maybe it was dragged away by wild animals. When she thought that she had lost his life, that he had lost his life saving her, but she couldn't even take care of his body, she felt miserable. If the body really had been dragged away by wild animals and had already been eaten, she would kill herself. Actually, even if Ling Huchang's body were fine, she would rather not live anyway. Suddenly, deep in her heart, another thought popped up. That was a thought she had never dared to think about. The thought had come to her several times through the day, but each time she immediately pushed it back and only thought, how could I be so disturbed? How could I be thinking such nonsense? This is absurd. No, it's not like that. But now she could not hide it any longer, and it appeared clearly in her mind. When I carried Big Brother Ling Hu's body, I felt very calm and peaceful. I was actually feeling a bit happy, just like when I was chanting exercises of the Buddhist scriptures with an empty mind. I seemed to have hoped to just hold his body and walked casually on a never-ending road that nobody else was on. I would pay any price to find his body. Why? Am I not able to bear the thought that wild animals ate his body? No, not that at all. I just want to carry his body and walk around aimlessly, or just sit by the lotus pond quietly. Why did I faint? Oh no, I am terrible. I should not think like this. The master wouldn't allow it, and the Buddha wouldn't tolerate it either. These are evil thoughts. I shouldn't be trapped by evil thoughts. But where is Big Brother Ling Hu's body? Her mind was in such chaos, she could almost see the smile on Ling Huchang's lips once again. It was such a carefree smile. Then it changed into the disdainful look on his face when he swore, "You are bad luck, little nun." She felt the pain from her chest like a knife. A knife was cutting into her flesh. Yu Sanghai's voice rose again. Lao Denois, this little girl is from your Huashan sword school, isn't she? No, this is the first time I have ever seen this little sister. She is not from our sword school, Lao Denois denied in a hurry. Sure, if you don't want to admit it, fine. Yu Sanghai did not believe him at all. Suddenly, Yu Sanghai waved his hand. With a flash, an awl-shaped missile shot toward Yilin. Little sister, see what this is? He yelled. Yilin was still deep in her thoughts and had never expected a projectile from Yu Sanghai. She actually felt some kind of joy. It is a relief that he is killing me. I don't feel like living anyway. Seeing the missile flying closer and hearing several people shouting, "Look out for the projectile," she had no intention of dodging it. For some unknown reason, she felt unspeakable peace and joy, feeling that there was only sadness and endless loneliness in the living world. She would be very happy if the missile killed her. Ding Yi gently pushed the little girl aside and dashed in front of Yilin to block the missile. Although she had the look of an old granny, the dash was extremely fast. The missile wasn't traveling that fast, but it was still a shooting projectile. Ding Yi started later, yet arrived earlier, and was able to get ready to catch the projectile. It seemed that Sister Ding Yi could catch the projectile without too much effort now, but when the missile reached about 2 feet from her, it suddenly dropped to the floor. Since Ding Yi had already extended her arm to catch it, yet missed, it was like losing a round in front of everyone. Her face turned slightly red. Yilin is like deep in love, guys. She doesn't even know it. Yu Sanghai immediately waved his hand again and threw the paper ball toward the little girl's face. The paper ball was made out of the paper with the turtle picture. So the bullnose shot the missile just to lure me away. He wasn't really trying to hurt Yilin, Ding Yi thought to herself. The small paper ball went much faster and carried much more strength than the awl-shaped missile. Yu Sanghai had used his inner energy when he threw the paper ball. If it hit the little girl's face, she would definitely get hurt. Ding Yi was standing next to Yilin. When she realized what had happened, it was already too late to help. All she could do was to yell, "You!" The little girl swiftly sat down on the floor and cried, Mom, he is going to kill me." She moved in a very swift manner and dodged the paper ball in perfect time. Anyone could tell that she knew martial arts, but she just acted like a spoiled child. Everyone thought it was quite funny. Yu Sanghai also felt that it wouldn't be appropriate to push her more. He had a belly full of suspicions, but none of his questions could be answered. Seeing the embarrassed expression on Yu Sanghai's face, Sister Dingyi couldn't help laughing inwardly. Since the Qincheng Sword School had lost face so badly, she didn't want to mess with him anymore, so she said to Yilin, Yilin, I don't know where the little sister's parents went. Why don't you go with her to look for them, so she won't be bullied because nobody is looking out for her? Yes, master, Yilin answered, and she walked up to the little girl and took her hand. The girl smiled at her, and they walked out of the hall together. Yu Sanghai sneered and stopped paying any more attention to the girl. He turned around and stared at Mu Gaofeng. Done. I think that was longer than usual. Aka Shoden says, I wish somebody felt a quarter of that for me. Oh no. Don't say that. That's sad. I feel for you. We love you here. Yeah, I think the chat keeps freezing. I don't know why. Was that a long chapter, guys? I think that was a pretty long chapter. But we got through it. Ugh. That's good because my throat is starting to dry out. All right. Is it time for tequila? If anyone has some drinks, take it out. Dun, dun, dun. Hope Johnson says the pho shops out here have mostly punny names. Here too. And the tea places have punny names. Like what? Bobalicious. We have Bobalicious here. I like that place. Bobaholics. They're Bobaholics. Alright guys. Can you see me? Oh, wait, let me change the camera. Alright, cheers. Cheers. Woo! That's stronger than the Jack. Fucking is good. Fucking is pretty standard though. It's fucking great. Boba's got back. I like that. I like that. All right. I think next week I'll have boba to drink. I'll make it at home. Thanks to Amy who sent it to me. Bigfoot. Yeah, it's tequila. It's Hornitos. Yeah. It's not the cheap kind. All right, guys. Yeah, it's stronger than the Jack. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. All right. This was a cool episode. And I want to know who that girl is. That's weird. She's pretty smart for a little girl. All right, guys. Yes. Nikki, I will do a boba tea review. Oh! Bigfoot. Boba tea with alcohol. Good idea. Good idea. I'll do that on stream. Remind me if I forget. I'll do that on stream. Nice. Good job. Nom nom. All right, guys. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.